Robin Lundberg Show. What's going on, guys? How you doing? What's up, Robin? Says Josh B. the Prez. Had to start a little early today. I apologize to some of my, regular viewers who are expecting me a little later, but I am running into a wall. Let's just put it that way. So I don't know if I was going to make the show later. Wanted to get a show in for you guys. And like I've said, some of the start times will be a little bit flexible depending on the events, depending on my schedule, depending on other schedules. And I thought today, considering the fact that I was run down and, you got NBA games tonight, and I wanted to talk a little bit about Ben Simmons. The Nets play at 7 o'clock, so it doesn't exactly make sense to go live during the Nets or, after the Nets in a game where the Ben Simmons is not playing anyway. So I figured we could talk about that and get the show started with that right here. Not a surprise that Ben Simmons is done. I did a short on this the other day where I basically said his career as an NBA player is over. And I believe that. And I take no pride or joy in that either. I'm not sitting here bragging about that. I don't think that's a good thing. I'm not dancing on his career grave or anything of that ilk. Because look, Ben Simmons, there was a time, people forget, we make fun of him now, but people forget Ben Simmons was the process, right? He was the guy that was supposed to be next up in the NBA. The Sixers tanked for those years so that they could get high draft picks, and Ben Simmons was the result of that tanking. And a lot of people thought he was the next LeBron James in a sense, because he had a sort of similar play style to LeBron. And Ben was a beast. There was a time where he was a beast. The Sixers had a run there when Embiid was out where Ben and the Sixers won a bunch of games. And they ran, and he set the guys up and sprayed the ball out and attacked the rim and all that stuff. And then there was the dust-up that happened with Philadelphia that made it seem like this was all an attitude thing. And he was petulant and a guy that just didn't want to work. And I don't know. I'm not saying he's a great guy. I don't know Ben. In fact, my one encounter with Ben, he was kind of a jerk. It was at the All-Star game in 2020 where, I saw him in the hallway. I believe that's where it was. And he just had a condescending thing to say. None of those guys a lot of them weren't stopping for me. Giannis was the one who stopped and talked to me. Giannis and Charles Barkley. Common, the rapper who was a judge at the slam dunk contest that year. But I'm not going to hold that personally against Ben. And when the Nets traded for Ben Simmons, I thought, oh, wow, this could really work out for him to play alongside Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, resurrect his career. But at this point, I don't think it's mental. I don't. Kevin Zwicker seems like ever since that last playoff series in Philly, he's been mentally broken, unfortunately. I think he's physically broken. I don't think Ben Simmons is mentally broken. People keep saying, he's going to be in a contract year next year, and that as a result, he's going to show out. Wait till you see how he shows out next year. I don't think so. I don't think he can play. I don't think he can move. I mean, look at this. Look at this chart from Kirk Goldsberry here. Shows Ben's availability in the last several years. The guy can't play. That's not mental. That's because he didn't take a layup against the Hawks. That's because his body has failed him. He can't play. He's got a bad back. People act like he's faking back surgeries. I don't care how much you dislike the guy. That ain't the case. I mean, in a sense, he's a what could have been. Given that the argument was Ben or Joel, right? That was a real argument. Who would you rather have, Ben or Joel? And there was a time I think I was on the Ben side of those things. Now, Ben's game turned out to be more flawed than one would realize as he went forward, because even when he was healthy, he was exposed for not being able to shoot the ball. And you could just drop back and, not only not shoot at all, not even attempt to shoot, not even look at the rim. And that's where the Atlanta thing came to get him. That's where he was embarrassed after that Atlanta Hawks series. No question. No question. But I did think he could resurrect his career with the Nets. I don't know if they didn't do the right due diligence as far as his health or anything like that, but it just hasn't worked out. And at this point, I really don't think it's, I'm not going to sit here and say it's something mental or anything other than the guy's broken. He's got a new agent and everything. Broken. They've tried to manage his recovery and treat it with stuff that's non-surgical. Broken. He's just broken, Ben. He's as broken as his jumper is. Now, what does that mean for the Nets? Here's the thing. I saw this tweet, and I did do a show last week, I think it was, about whether the Nets were the worst situation in the NBA, but I thought this was a pretty good post here that shows that things can change a little bit in the NBA. A year from now, Ben's $40 million is off the books. The Nets will have a completely clear salary cap, and they will have a treasure trove of draft picks going forward. As they say, it's always darkest before the dawn. But hell, that trade didn't work out for them. But to me, the trade that's hurting the Nets more is the original Harden trade, not the Harden to Sixers trade. The Harden from Houston trade. That's the one that they still owe on. That's the one that's still hurting them. Because the Ben trade to the Sixers, who cares? Harden's not even there anymore. And Harden's not there anymore. And they got to still, I think they have one more first round pick due from that. They didn't get much from it, but they didn't really, the Sixers didn't get that much from it either. That was just kind of like a wash. It's the original Harden trade that hurts the Nets, where they still owe Houston this year's first rounder, another first rounder to come, and pick swaps. That's the one that hurts. Now, I don't want to overly criticize that either, because you could easily argue you do that again. They would have won the title in 2021. I do believe that. Lauren says the best availability is availability. Yeah, I'm not, can't argue that. What is the, what did Jay-Z say at the Grammys? What's that mantra I've been following? Just keep showing up. Like I said, I'm on early because I am run down. I didn't know if I waited till later, I'd be able to power through. I'm powering through right now. Availability. I'm here. Take that, Ben. Also adds, do you think he even wants the player get? Look, I don't believe Ben is the most hard-nosed guy who ever lived. Let me put it that way. I don't believe that Ben Simmons is the, personification of want. However, at the same time, I do almost feel bad for him now. He's stealing money from the franchise. Nobody gets paid more to be a spectator than Ben Simmons. He's basically a fashion model at this point. But in a way, I feel bad for him because I don't want to see anybody be broken. And he's broken right now. I just don't think he's physically capable of performing. I don't think it's more than that. Doug, the developer, says, who in your eyes is the quintessential would have def been a Hall of Famer if he never got hurt? Well, I'd have to go look at who's Hall of Famer, who's not. But I'm talking, if you're talking the careers that weren't what they could have been, the guys that jump to mind are Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway, Brandon Roy, and Ben Simmons, probably those guys. Now, some of those guys played in a different era too. You think about it, it's wild because the fact that Ben can't shoot became a more glaring problem as his career went on. As he continued through another era. Because did you see this stat earlier today? I look at this stat. Let me find Draymond Green now has more career threes than Larry Bird, which is just wild to think about. That is insane to think about, considering Larry Bird was known as a shooter and Draymond Green is known as a non-shooter. I mean, what's the joke with Draymond? He shoots like he's wearing a backpack. I mean, that's insanity right there. Look at that. And then people want to say we're celebrating longevity stats nowadays. I'm going to look up their threes per game while that's on the screen. I'm going to look up the threes per game here in a second. I'd go to their basketball references right now. This is amazing what you can do nowadays in real time versus what, back in the day, what people would have to go look up for you. I don't even know where they found the information back in the day. But I'm doing a side-by-side of Larry Bird and Draymond Green right now. And this is not to take away from Larry Bird, who was obviously a better shooter than Draymond Green and who obviously would have become a better three-point shooter in today's day and age. But in Larry Bird's career, he made 0.7 threes per game. In Draymond's career, he's made 0.8 threes per game. So Draymond also makes more threes per game than Larry Bird. If there's ever a stat that shows you the game has changed, it's that one. I told this story before, but I remember in my last apartment being on an elliptical machine, watching an old Knicks Bulls game from the 90s, and being astounded when the announcer remarked that was like their third three of the game, the team, in the fourth quarter. And it's like, what? I mean, it's just a whole different animal. I mean, back then they would dribble the ball off court, dump it down, Patrick Ewing. He'd have his back turned to the basket. It's a whole different day and age. So when you do the LeBron Jordan thing, you have to take that into account too. Like, Jordan didn't face the barrage of three-point shooting that LeBron James has faced in his career. Again, Larry Bird would have been a marksman in today's day and age. There's no question in my mind. But if any stat tells you the game's changed, it's that one. And it changed right on Ben Simmons, right? Like I said, it changed in the middle of his career. With Harden leaving Philly and Ben not playing, did anyone really win that trade? No. That's one of the that's a lose-lose. You would call that trade. A lose-lose for the Sixers and the Nets. I guess the Sixers probably got a little bit more out of Harden than the Nets got out of Ben. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Not much more than that. Not much more than that. I mean, because, Harden's Philly tenure over and done with already. And he's now with the Clippers. But yeah, I do feel a little bad for Ben. I do. Also, Anthony Davis, I did a video on him today. I saw the I don't know if you guys saw the Sabonis Anthony Davis stat, but basically he's been owned by Sabonis in his career so far. Apparently he's been owned by Jokic as well. Though I don't know if this stat is correct when you go back to the 2023 playoffs, they're saying, because I don't want to throw the Jokic one up. That's a little misleading simply because in that sense, they won the bubble championship. They beat the Nuggets in the lead up to that. So his team did beat Jokic at that point in time. But he's 0-9 versus Sabonis in his career. And here's the thing with Anthony Davis. At this point, we're almost unfair to him. I really mean that. We're almost unfair to Anthony Davis, where people keep trying to cast him as something that he's not. What he is an excellent NBA basketball player. Every team gets better with Anthony Davis on it. A top 25 player in the NBA. Top 20 player maybe in the NBA. That's pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. He's a monster defensively. Can do a variety of things. Can switch out and guard. Can protect the rim. Can clean up. Can recover. All those things. And offensively, when he's got that energy and action, he's a force on offense too. Cleaning up around the glass, diving, all those sort of things. But I think it's part of the reason why you see this wild pendulum swing in his performance when it comes to the big games versus the not big games. And that's because it's so dependent on his energy, because he doesn't really have go-to moves. He doesn't really have go-to moves. And when you go look at it, people talk about the bubble, and the bubble counts just as much as any other title. It was the same rules for everybody. Nobody had an advantage in the bubble, right? Like the rules were the same for everybody. But when you go and you look at Anthony Davis, and here's the stats, and you go look at 2020 versus other points in his career. 2020, look at the bubble numbers right there. Look at the three-point percentage in the bubble. Look at the field goal percentage in the bubble. He shot 38% from three, 57% from the field. That was the biggest anomaly from the entire bubble, is Anthony Davis and his shooting. He looked like he was going to be a new Kevin Durant, in a sense, after the bubble. And that's what made him and them so deadly during that time period, is the guy couldn't miss. AD couldn't miss. So it changed the calculus for him. And considering LeBron's age and considering the trade for Anthony Davis, we started talking about Anthony Davis like he was going to be the next guy. Like he was going to be the face of the Lakers going forward. And that's a problem. That's a problem because he's not, and he's never going to be. You know, it felt like, okay, LeBron's going to pass the torch to Anthony Davis. That is not going to happen. It's never going to happen. You're never going to see Anthony Davis take over as the face of the Lakers or take over as the guy for the Lakers over LeBron James. No matter how old LeBron gets. No matter how old he is. No matter what age LeBron is. It's always going to be his team. Because Anthony Davis ain't that guy. He's not good enough. And it's not even it's not fair. Because we've now changed. It's because of that 2020 performance, but we now change the expectations for him to be beyond what he is. And I think that's simply the case with AD. You know, and he's not shooting the ball well enough. He's not shooting the ball well enough. I mean, he and LeBron is still a damn good tandem. He's still a damn good tandem. But we can't pretend that he's ever going to. He's not Jokic. And he's closer to being Sabonis than he is to being Jokic. Anthony Davis is much more on Domantas Sabonis' level than he is on Nikola Jokic's level. And that's, I think, what fans have to register in their heads. He's a better defender than Sabonis. So you argue you take him because of that. But Sabonis has more offensive funk, more ways to score than AD. More ways to score. All right, then there was this announcement today. I don't know if this is something the world needs. Do we need to see Jake Paul and Mike Tyson? I mean, we're going to, I guess. It's going to be on Netflix, which means it's free. You know, I see Dan Le Batard dressed like Willy Wonka talking about this. I'm reading the text. Let me play what he had to say because I think I disagree. I think I disagree with what Dan Levitard says right here. Let's take a listen.
I'm in on this fight, though. I want to see Mike Tyson
Jessica,
do it.
Wait. Tyson, wait. Yes, they're going to give you the maximum freak show of taking MMA and boxing and Carnival Barker and bringing a freak show out of retirement to fight the YouTube sensation that has fallen behind Stugatz because he doesn't take care of that. He's been boxing.
Right.
He was at the front of where do YouTubers get their power, and he's taken it to the very top of sports. He's at maximum freak show in Jerry Jones's stadium. The content companies will eat it up. He'll do awful things. Tyson will say awful things, and they'll do a great job of selling a fight that will create a giant business without needing Dana White, without using the fame of the day to expose that the system that Dana White and Vince McMahon has, that it's been the wrong system for a long time where they get paid and the fighters do not. Jake Paul just won the money game. Jake Paul, you're an idiot. Like, you are going to get knocked out. You have no chance in this fight, only if Mike Tyson is nice to you. If Mike Tyson wants to fight Jake Paul for 30 seconds, Jake Paul will fall in those 30 seconds.
We've got a quote from Mike. He says, I started him on his boxing journey on the undercard of my fight with Roy Jones, and I plan to finish him.
I disagree. I don't think that Mike Tyson is a guarantee to win this fight. I don't. I mean, I know who Mike Tyson is. I grew up playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, right? Like, people forget the impression that Mike Tyson left on people. He was one of those larger-than-life figures. I mean, the video game, right? What was the character's name? Little Mac. And you got to go through Don Flamingo and Bald Bull and all these people to get to Mike Tyson. And then even after Mike Tyson lost fights, even after he lost to Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield, he always had that aura. Remember when Stone Cold Steve Austin was in the ring with Mike Tyson and double birded him? Right? And that was like, whoo, it's on. Stone Cold Mike Tyson. And then Mike Tyson goes on, he's in Hangover and all these things. Mike Tyson's like 60 years old. I think he just had a health problem not too long ago. Jake Paul isn't a scrub. He's not an elite professional boxer, don't get me wrong. In fact, he's really never had a professional fight. The only one he sort of had, he lost. But he's talented, and he's been in there with fighters, professional fighters, and he's got power. Mike Tyson should not be fighting anyone right now. That is a scary proposition. Given the toll that he's probably gone through, not probably, he has gone through in the ring, given where he's at physically, given where he's at age-wise, Mike Tyson should not be getting in the ring with it. If anybody's going to get hurt in this fight, it's probably Mike Tyson, not Jake Paul. You can't, live off of what Tyson did in the past to just assume he's going to dominate Jake. This is not a fight that should happen. It's a joke. It's a joke that everybody's going to watch, that I'm going to watch. But I don't think for a second that Jake Paul's just going to lose to Mike Tyson, or that it's a foregone conclusion that Jake Paul loses to Mike Tyson. I think it's the other way around. In fact, I would make Jake Paul the favorite in this fight going in. Love Mike Tyson, but sort of like in Rocky Balboa when he fought Antonio Tarver, I don't remember that movie so well. Apologies. So I don't really get the reference. If this fight does well, I can easily see Netflix doing a live special with a big-time WWE. Oh, I think they're already planning that. They did that deal. I wouldn't be so surprised if The Rock and Roman Reigns' match isn't on Netflix. The first Raw on Netflix. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Netflix is clearly trying to get into that game. trying to get into that game for sure. So no, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. But I think Levitard, no disrespect, I think he's way off here. I think he's way off here to assume that Mike Tyson's just going to win that fight. When's the last time Mike Tyson fought? Is he even in condition to fight? That is not the kind of thing I think you want to see. I don't want to see that fight, period. I'm going to watch it. It's one of those ones like, it's hilarious, right? Like, because I'm going to watch the fight, but I'm not so sure it's a fight I want to see, if that makes sense. Tyson is Tyson, but if Jake can't beat a guy who's almost 60, he should hang the gloves up. Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like when Floyd and Conor had the fight, it opened this Pandora box. Yeah. I mean, that was a joke of a fight at the time, too. Conor McGregor was getting in there with arguably the best boxer of all time, never having a professional fight, and people actually thought he had a chance. That was insanity. And now boxing's kind of a joke because it's all joke fights. All of it. Every single one is one of these spectacle, stupid fights. Feel bad for the real boxers. And boxing ain't no game. Boxing is the most dangerous sport in the world. The most dangerous sport in the world. Much more dangerous than MMA. Even more dangerous than football. Football, takes a toll on people over time, and you are risking yourself every time you take the field on a Sunday. And MMA, same thing. But boxing is repeated head trauma. We've seen boxers die. Plural. The term punch drunk. What do you think that is? Punch drunk was CTE before we knew what CTE was. Mike Tyson has no business getting in the ring with anybody, much less Jake Paul. That is stupid. Should not be doing it. We probably shouldn't be supporting it, but we will. There's no doubt about that. There is no doubt about that. Speaking of support, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Click that thumbs up button and share and comment and all that stuff. As I say on this show all the time, if you comment later, that's cool too. I will get back to you. There's somebody that, let me find his name, because he always comments after the fact, and he comments a lot. And I try to get back to some of his comments. So I just want to give him a shout out on the show for when he sees this later. See if I can find it real quick. I mean, there's plenty. I'm getting all sorts of comments on the show, especially of the Caitlin Clark episode I did the other day. Alan Snow 1129 just wrote in about that. WNBA still sucks and will suck. WNBA needs to stay out of the NBA All-Star Game weekend too. Calm yourself, buddy. That was the best moment of the All-Star weekend. Not even close. Not even close. And then, of course, the LeBron clearly being better than Michael Jordan. What type of drugs are you on? Clearly not the same. Hey, it's funny what it's like when the Jordans are on the other foot, ain't it? Because that's what Jordan fans do. They say it so authoritatively. LeBron's not even close to Jordan. But if you say the opposite, they get all offended. That was kind of the point of that game. And that, like that shtick, I said it's shtick in a sense of, I believe that LeBron is better than Michael Jordan. I firmly believe that, like, from my soul. But the whole, he's so much better, blah, 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 it was a little shtick just because that debate's going to go on to the end of time, and I have immense respect for Michael Jordan. It's just funny to see how the Jordan fans react when they see it. And then it's Jolton Joe 26, who is always commenting after the fact. So I wanted to give him his shout out. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and all those things. Some wrestling stuff was in the news today. I saw this Bianca Belair thing. It's a little silly in a sense. Like, the people that made the comments, obviously those are disgraceful comments and they have no place in society. And basically she's on the cover of the new WWE game, and people were saying she didn't belong there. And some of it was obviously racially motivated. But here's the thing with stories like that. You're talking a couple of yahoos. We can't, and there are plenty of hateful people out there, don't get me wrong. And there are plenty of racist people out there and all sorts of things. I mean, I just read you some misogynistic comments that I got on this page. I get anti-Semitic comments, and I'm not even Jewish, right? Like, and I don't know how to respond to it because I don't want to be like, I'm not even Jewish, as if it would be a bad thing if I were Jewish. Because my last name has the Berg in it. But, so I'm not denying that there's hate out there. All I'm saying is we shouldn't make a couple of comments as if they are representative of the general belief or how somebody is viewed, that kind of thing. And Bianca Belair, I interviewed her last year. I think it was at some point. My daughter, Ronnie, is a big fan of Bianca Belair, and Bianca was nice and gave her a little shout out. Oh, by the way, my daughter is a huge fan of yours. She wanted me to tell you that.
Oh, tell her say hi.
I will. Thank you. Oh, by the way, I mean, just that, but she was super nice and super cool, and she's super talented. I mean, Bianca Belair is already essentially on, what would you call it, the Mount Rushmore of women's wrestling, or close to it if she's not there. Who are the best women's wrestlers of all time? I mean, it was the Fabulous Moolah, feels like the pioneer to me, right? Even despite what, it's funny because I know there was like a Dark Side of the Ring on her. I have to read up on the story more. But that's another thing that annoys me while I'm on the subject before I finish that thought. I see people like trying to remove Vince McMahon from all things. And this is just an unhealthy mentality. You can't erase history. No one's defending Vince McMahon or what he did or is alleged to have done, or, but to act like he didn't create the company and he wasn't involved with Stone Cold Steve Austin in some of the most successful things that ever happened. It just like, did Undertaker not lose at WrestleMania? I think we should be mature enough to be able to understand that people are complex and that there are bad things that have happened in history. You can't just scrub them and act like they didn't have, like that's psycho behavior to not acknowledge something that happened. That doesn't mean you bring Vince back now. There's a difference. But let's not pretend like he didn't exist. Now, Bianca Belair, I said Fabulous Moolah. Then you would go with Trish Stratus and Lita. I would throw in Charlotte Flair, obviously, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Rhea Ripley, Sasha Banks. I mean, those are like the 8 I can think of off. So Bianca's very close to that Mount Rushmore already if she's not there. Unbelievable talent. Unbelievable talent. So shout out to Bianca Belair, but I don't think it's almost counterproductive to give those people the attention. As we were talking about Jake Paul, I've been drinking the Polar Seltzer, but I'll just give the free ad to Logan Paul for the Prime. Kids love the Prime. My son has to make sure he has it freshly stocked in the house, and can't say I don't enjoy them myself here and there, or quite frequently, actually. I like it better than some of the other sports drinks. And I thought they got unfairly attacked, by the way, Prime, when the people went after them for the marketing to kids and having all the caffeine, when there's a clear difference between this drink and the energy drink. You can't confuse them at all. Because I remember when I first saw it and all the kids were going crazy over it, and I looked at the back of it and I was like, oh, this is okay. I mean, I'm sure there's fake stuff in there that's bad for you, just like everything else. But there's nothing like, there's no sugar, no caffeine, nothing like that. So I was like, okay, you can have Prime. The Ice Cream Man was selling the Prime. The Ice Cream Man was selling the Prime. Then the other wrestling story today was the Okada salary. I actually liked the way AEW introduced Okada. I thought it was pretty cool. You know, he a lot of times AEW is just like relying on work rate and assuming every wrestling fan is a hardcore wrestling fan. And I thought they might do that with Okada, where it's just like, oh, it's Okada. Everybody knows who he is. And just throw him in a random match for an hour. Because the ratings were out for Dynamite last night, and it did not do very well, unfortunately. And I think I saw Will Ospreay's quarter hour did really poorly. Now, who knows if that's just like coincidence. But I do think it's worth stating, like, most people don't know who he is. So when you throw him in an hour match or a long match, I know it wasn't an hour match last night, but a long match with some random dude, that's not necessarily going to draw viewers. What I liked about Okada coming in is that they at least put him in an angle. And he became a heel. And he had good heel mannerisms. I was down with his heel mannerisms. And it made me curious about what he's going to do next. And that's successful storytelling. That's how you get people involved. That's how you get people to tune in for a longer period of time and wanting to come back. But I saw the report on his salary. And that is wild, because there's no way WWE offered him even close to what AEW is apparently paying him, which is nearly $5 million a year. Look at that. That's a lot of money. Now, good for him. But, when you're AEW, eventually, are they going to make that up as not revenue, but profit, right? Because we see revenue numbers get put out there. Are they actually making a profit? And you can't just spend forever without it coming back, because they're not selling enough tickets. Now, their TV deal is still going, so the ratings don't matter unless they lose the TV deal. But it is just something to keep an eye on. It is just something to keep an eye on. But like I said, I liked his debut. Okada is probably the best wrestler I've seen in the past decade. He's worth every penny, and I'm glad Tony gave him back. Well, look, I have to see more of him. I'm so far, like I said, I was a fan of his debut. So not hating. That's just a lot of money to pay him. But I liked his debut much more than I have many of the splashes that AEW has supposedly made in the past. For anybody that's just tuning in, please like, subscribe, comment on the channel. I've hit most of the stuff I was going to get to today. Like I said, I'm running this a little early because I'm pretty run down, and I didn't know if I was going to make it till a later start time. Monday through Thursday has been when I've been streaming, when I've been going live on the show. I mean, I had two of my most successful shows this week for sure, the LeBron and the Caitlin Clark shows, as I'm still, figuring out the model, exactly what people are vibing with, what people like. But just giving you forewarning that sometimes the time frame may shift slightly here or there, depending on events, depending on my schedule. So if you can make it live, that's great. If you make it after the fact, that's great too. And make sure you comment after the fact as well. All right. The last thing I had on the rundown, and then I'll continue to take comments, is I don't know if you guys saw the show I did with Rob Markman and Low Key from last week. We did a definitive ranking of how many classics Jay-Z has. And we decided it was anywhere between 4 and 8. 4 and 8 classics. Basically, the way I broke it down was you have the undisputed classics and the arguable classics. And in the undisputed classics category were Reasonable Doubt, Blueprint, Black Album, and 444. And in the arguable classics category were Volume 1, Volume 2, American Gangster, and Watch the Throne. So it was 4 to 8. But I saw another one of those engagement farm tweets that Low-Key had responded to about the top 5 Jay-Z songs, or your favorite 5 Jay-Z songs. Let me see if I can find it here. Yeah, this was the tweet that spurred it. And this is a hard exercise for me because I could change my opinion on this at any given time. So that I'll say, like, in this, how I'm feeling in this very moment in time, and what I would say right now, You Don't Know is always on that list. I love that song. Marcy Me from 444, I would put on that list. Sometimes Smile, I like that song a lot too, but I'll say Marcy Me, You Don't Know. Then it's tough because I really like A Million and One Questions and Imaginary Players from Volume 1. I really like Feeling It and The Evils from Reasonable Doubt. There's a song from that time frame called This Life Forever that I really like. Windows down halfway out of my mind, blasting Donny Hathaway. Then that doesn't even count PSA. It doesn't count. Hovey Baby is another one that I could really make a case for in this argument. It's just an impossible exercise to do. But at this very second, I will say You Don't Know, Marcy Me, Hovey Baby, Imaginary Players, and damn, I only get one more spot. What am I going to put there? It's tough. I could argue Dynasty Intro is another one. I could argue. I mean, In Paris, if you count that as a Jay-Z song, that might be the greatest rap song ever made. So I'll put that on there for now. But it's impossible to do. It's an impossible exercise to do. I started the show with the Ben Simmons news. We checked the Nets score. Well, did they start yet? One of the reasons is I wanted to get the show rolling before the Nets game was actually live. And like I said, because I was not feeling, and still am not feeling very well. So that's about what I got for you guys today. I'm about to Ben Simmons it and sit the rest of this show out. But if you got any more comments, hit me up with the comments in the comment section. Let those fly. As always, please like and subscribe to the channel, because it is nothing without you. I know I say that stuff every show, but it is the truth. It is the truth. The Nets are playing the Pistons right now. I think they were only favored by 2.5, which shows you where they're valued right now. They started Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Smith Jr. started. Oh, because Cam Johnson's out. And what do we got? We got Miami and Dallas tonight on TNT. Chicago and Golden State later. Boston and Denver. That's the money game, right? Is everybody playing in that game? It's hard to tell in the NBA nowadays. And Wemby's in action a little later. The Spurs are only 13-49. Wow. Wembanyama's going to lose his patience with the Spurs organization. I'm just kidding. I talked about that the other day. But I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be fine being patient in San Antonio for a little while. He'll be doing okay. He'll be doing just okay. Just fine. But, that's what I got for the show tonight. If you want to get back into any of the topics real quick before I get out of here, talked about Ben Simmons. And I just think his body has failed him at this point. I don't think it's any more than that. I don't think this is a mental thing anymore. I don't think he's going to excel in a contract year next year. Any of that stuff. I think he's just finished. I think he's just broken. Anthony Davis, he's just not that guy. Like, and it's almost unfair to him at this point to expect him to be, because he's a very good NBA player, but he's not going to be the player that we've cast him as, or the player who's going to surpass LeBron James or take the torch from LeBron James in LA. That's just not going to happen. He's a really good defender, a versatile defender. When he's active, he's a very good offensive player because he cleans up around the glass. He's cutting and all that stuff. but he doesn't really have a refined offensive game. He doesn't have a go-to move set, and he can't shoot. The bubble was a mirage. So he's never going to overtake LeBron as the guy with the Lakers. It's not going to happen. Talked about Bianca Belair. And again, I didn't think we should give too much attention to the people that, a couple of commenters, really, who had negative things to say about her. I mean, come on. The comments are terrible. Don't get me wrong. And there are people like that exist. But it's almost doing a disservice to fuel them when the vast majority of people are celebrating Bianca Belair and love Bianca Belair and what she brings to wrestling and the WWE. We talked about Okada and what AEW is paying him, which is quite a bit of money. I liked his debut. I thought it made him seem like a big deal, which is appropriate. And they at least involved him in an angle, which makes me curious about what he's going to do there going forward. But that's a hefty investment. And they're going to need some of these guys that are wrestling fans, wrestlers, to bring in casual fans, to bring in people's curiosity. Maybe Mercedes Moné / Sasha Banks can do that for them because she does have some star power, some it factor. They hired her for The Mandalorian for a reason. Talked about Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. I don't think Mike Tyson should be fighting anybody. I don't think he should be fighting anybody right now. I think that is a dangerous game. And I think people who think he's just going to run over Jake Paul are living in the past. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I mean, I'm sure Mike still has that power. I'm sure he still has that muscle memory, right? But I am concerned with Mike Tyson being in the ring against anybody. And Jake Paul has power. We've seen Jake Paul knock people out. And I know they're not Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson is almost 60 years old. Not the picture of health in recent times either. Like, this is not Iron Mike Tyson. This is Iron Supplement Mike Tyson. So, yeah, not a big fan of that. Talked about the stat that Draymond Green has more career threes than Larry Bird, which is really wild to think about. If you want to talk about something that has proven the game has changed and will never really be the same, it is sure as hell that. It is definitely that. I mean, that is a wild thing to take a look at and digest, really. And I did my best to give you my top 5 Jay-Z songs, which is not something I can comfortably ever do. I'll always, I could give you 22 twos, but I don't know about just 1 or 5 or a top 5. But that's what I had on the rundown. And like I said, I'm struggling today. I feel like passing out. So unless you guys got more to say in the chat, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you comment. I apologize to some of the viewers who typically check me out a little bit later because I came on a little earlier today. And I know I should probably be a little bit more, but I don't know how else to give you guys a heads up other than like tweeting it out. But I will be back on Monday. Maybe, depending on how big a Raw it is, maybe a few minutes before, maybe during, we'll see. But roughly in the evenings, Monday through Thursday, 8 o'clock was the original start time for the show. That's what I hit for the, first however many episodes. And if you guys want that consistency back, I'll do my best to hit the same time every day. Just let me know. Because it doesn't matter when I'm on if you aren't on, and if you're not checking it out. And again, I had 2 of the biggest shows this week because of you and whoever else was watching, a lot of new viewers because of this is really why I had it's my daily LeBron Jordan daily. I wonder if that would work as a series. Welcome to LeBron Jordan Daily. In today's edition of LeBron Jordan Daily, it's so funny. I can't stop laughing at the way the Jordan fans react, though, because they cannot take the fact that if you say it strongly, like they've said it so strongly in the opposite direction for so long, when you say it the other way, they get all in a tizzy. What it's like when the Jordans are on the other foot. All right, guys. I'll post some of my other videos, and obviously I'm not going into a hole or anything. But unless something necessitates an emergency live stream, I will be back Monday, same Robin time, same Robin channel. See ya.